I was the night manager at a self-storage place just outside town. It sat between a highway and a strip of warehouses. After 9 p.m., it was just me, the cameras, and rows of metal doors. The gate was on a keypad. Every entry and exit left a time stamp on my screen. Most nights were boring. I liked boring. One cold Tuesday, the log showed a code used at 2:11 a.m. Our posted hours end at 9. People sometimes sneak in late, grab a box, and go. It still bothered me. I wrote down the unit tied to the code, D17. The name looked familiar. Retired teacher. Paid on time. Never a problem. I stepped outside and did a slow walk down row D. The place felt like a refrigerator. Breath hung in front of me. The only noise was a humming light and a semi on the highway. Halfway down, I stopped. Someone had brushed fresh dirt in front of D17, like they were trying to wipe out footprints. The brushed patch was too neat. It made a clean rectangle in the dust. I crouched and saw tiny pebbles caught in the brushed lines. Someone was here not long ago. I checked the lock. The unit had one of those round disc locks. Ours come with little color tags that match the account on file. This one had no tag. The shackle felt warm against the cold air. That meant a hand had been on it. I went back to the office and called the phone number on file. It rang 3 times. A sleepy voice answered. I asked if he had been to his unit tonight. He said no. He didn't even know we allowed after-hours entries. We do not. He said he hadn't visited for 2 weeks. He sounded worried now. He said there was an old snow blower and his wife's boxes in there. He asked me to please check. I told him I would. I told him I would also call non-emergency because of the lock. He thanked me. He sounded fully awake now. I called non-emergency. I told the dispatcher I had a late gate entry tied to a unit with a swapped lock. She said an officer could come by within the hour. She told me not to open anything until they arrive. I agreed. I hung up. I sat still and watched the cameras. At 2:34 a.m., the camera for row D flickered like a moth flew in front of it. The picture wobbled for a second, then settled. I checked the other feeds. On row F, a side pedestrian door that should have been latched shut was open an inch. My stomach dropped. The side door had a motion chime. It had not chimed. That meant someone moved slow and kept it from swinging. Someone who knew how to avoid noise. I left the office lights on and took the long way around, past the RV spaces, so I could see the side door from the outside first. It was open and just enough for a person to slide a hand through. The metal around the latch was shiny, like it had been rubbed or pried. A light scuff mark on the concrete looked fresh. When I stepped back to call the dispatcher again, my office phone rang. The line that only rings when someone uses the call button at the gate. I answered. A man whispered, "Hey man, gate's stuck. Can you open?" I looked at the gate feed. It was empty. "Where are you calling from?" I asked. "Gate," he said again, a little louder. I watched the audio meter on my phone. It barely moved. The voice sounded close, like he was somewhere inside the property, not by the road. "What's your unit number?" I asked. Silence. Then, 17, he said. No letter. Just 17. We label units with letters and numbers. Everyone who rents here says the letter first without thinking. People who don't rent guess. People who are not supposed to be here say it wrong. "I'll send someone," I said, and hung up. I turned the volume down on the office phone. My hands were shaking. I went back to the cameras. Rodi showed a shimmer under a door. It took me a second to realize it was breath fog drifting out from the bottom gap. Someone was inside D17 or the unit next to it, and it was warmer in there than outside. The camera flickered again. I could see what was wrong now. The lens had something stuck to it. A dot. A smear. Like someone threw a bit of tape or gum to mess up the picture. It wasn't luck. It was planned. I locked the office door and waited for the police. I tried to look calm when they arrived. The two officers. They asked quick, clean questions. I showed them the log and the live feeds. We walked together to row D. Their flashlights made everything look sharp and unreal. At D17, one officer knelt. He looked at the brushed dirt. He touched the lock and nodded like I had. Warmth on metal and cold air. He knocked once on the roll-up door. We all held our breath. We heard a cough. Not loud. Just once. A human cough. Then nothing. Police, the officer said. He called out the renter's name. There was no answer. We stood in silence long enough to hear the highway again. The officer said we could cut the lock. Because the renter said he wasn't here and because someone might need help inside. The other officer cut the disc lock with a big bolt cutter. The jaws squealed against the metal. The lock fell and rolled. The officer lifted the door slow. The smell rolled out first. Sweat. Cold food. Old fabric. The beam of a flashlight found a mattress rolled out on the concrete. A sleeping bag. 2 plastic crates. A camp lantern. An orange extension cord run through a drilled hole near the back of the unit where the wall met the floor. Don't step in, the officer said, and angled his light along the edge. The floor had a thin fishing line stretched ankle-high near the door, inside, tied from one wall bracket to the other one. If you walked in fast, you would trip on it. It wasn't that strong. It was just enough to make you stumble. Behind the crates, beside the hole where the cord ran, there was a small hole cut through the wall panel. It was the size of a coin. The beam hit it, and I could see the daylight coming through from the next unit over. Whoever was in here had drilled into the neighbor's unit too. We heard a door bang far off. The officer by me said, "He's moving." He raised his voice and called again. "Police." His radio crackled. Another unit had arrived and was walking the perimeter. We waited, but no one came out. The officer stepped back and aimed at the next unit. D18. He knocked. He listened. He cut that lock too. He lifted the door. The fishing line was there too. Another bedroll. More crates. A small battery pack with wires. A stack of printed papers. The officer picked up the papers with 2 fingers. It was a schedule. It was my schedule. Times. Notes. Rounds at 15 past. Checks row F last. A printed photo of me taken from the camera at the office door, dated last week. It had my name on it. Someone had been watching me, timing me, printing me out. I felt heat in my face even though the air was cold. My name looked strange on paper like that. The officer looked at me and said, "He's been here a while." In the corner was a 5-gallon bucket with a lid. Next to it, a plastic bag with food wrappers and a pair of old work gloves. Under the bucket lid, there was a key ring taped to the inside. 2 brass keys. One looked like a common storage disc lock key. The other looked old and smooth from use. The officer bagged them. We followed the orange cord to the hole. It ran to a tiny socket someone had wedged into the gap and tapped into the conduit that runs along the back wall for our lighting. It looked like a cheap adapter you could buy at a hardware store. It made my skin crawl. I kept thinking about the cough. That small cough inside metal walls. The officers cleared the rest of the row. They found 2 more units with signs of use. The pattern was the same. Bedroll, crates, fishing line. I was not brave. I kept thinking about my name on the paper. They did not catch him that night. He slid out through a part of the fence behind the dumpsters where the ground had sunk and the chain link bowed. If I look at photos now, I can see it plain as day. That night, my brain did not connect the shape with danger. It was just a fence. The next day, the owner had a crew come and fix the fence, weld a bar across it, and install a heavier latch on the side pedestrian door. We added a metal shield over the gate latch. We put tamper stickers on the camera housings. The renter of D17 came in with his wife. He cried when he saw the bedroll on the floor where her boxes used to sit. We moved them to a different unit while he changed his lock. The keys they found on the ring did not match our master keys. They matched 2 different disc locks, both from units with no names on the door list yet. He must have found lost locks or bought used ones, then swapped them. He was really careful. He listened. He learned our rhythm. He watched me do my rounds, printed my face, and timed the dead spots on the cameras he had smeared. 2 weeks later, the police called me to say they found a man sleeping under a loading dock behind a tile store a mile away. He had a crate with him. Inside were a camp lantern, a cord, and a little red notebook. In the back of the notebook was a page with our gate code pattern drawn out. It looked like he had been trying to guess future numbers by watching fingers. They could not tie him to our break-ins with anything but the notes. He had no ID on him. No prints in the system matched the smudges on our stuff. He would not give his name. He would only say, "I never took anything." Then he smiled. We changed the policy after that. No one is on site alone after 9. The gate code is now an app with 2-step. The cameras send alerts when they are covered. The side door has an alarm that screams if it moves. The officers provided me a small card to keep in my wallet with a number to call if I ever feel being watched. They told me to trust my gut. They told me I had good instincts. People ask if I ever felt in danger. I tell them this. Danger did not feel like a knife at my throat or a scream in the dark. It felt like a cough from inside a metal room where no one should be. It felt like my name printed on a piece of paper I did not write. It felt like the warm metal of a lock in cold air. I work at a different site now. I still like quiet places. I still like rows of doors and order and logs. But I do my rounds with someone else. I look at the bottom inch of every fence. I check for tape on every camera. I do not answer strange whispers on the office phone. And when I walk past a roll-up door with brushed dirt in front of it, I keep moving. I make the call. If you have a real story, you can send it to us. Trust your guts and sleep well.